everyone, your designers are here.
I'm Anita from Cedar Hill Farmhouse.
And I'm Yvonne at Stone Gable.
And I'm Kelly at My Soulful Home.
And we have tips and tricks and decorating advice for you. So let's get started.
Today is episode 28, using salvage in your decor. So this is one of my favorite things to do. So pretty excited once again today. So I think where we should start is to define what are we talking about when we say salvage?
Anita, I love using salvage in my home too. And when I think of salvage, I think of architectural things that were used in a home that have been discarded, like baseboard, spindles, crown molding, arches, corbels, all those beautiful things that are probably filled with lead paint from
Well,
ages.
you can seal them.
Yes,
I don't
exactly.
end up
Just
doing
don't
that,
lick
but
them and you're good.
There you go. Shutters, things like that were used on homes that used to be just discarded and thrown into landfills or burned, but now they're very popular to use in our home as decor.
Yeah, I agree. And the salvage items have the beautiful patina that we love,
We love
and the
that.
chippiness and, the mark of ages. I think salvage can even go beyond things that were in other homes. Salvage can be sort of anything that strikes you as being super cool that you could repurpose, whether it's a piece of metal or something that was used for a completely different purpose, and you make a flower container out of it or a plant container. Just thinking a little bit out of the box when you encounter a piece of salvage can go a long way to adding real interest to your home and to your decor, and some signature pieces that nobody in the world is going to have that salvaged flower pot like you will.
You know what I'm thinking when you're saying that, Kelly? I have an old chicken feeder that I
yeah,
used to
those are
plant
awesome.
outside, and it's metal, a little bit rusty, and it looks so beautiful with little just like smaller flowers, like pansies or something like that, put in it. But there is just that juxtaposition of something so beautiful and natural with something old and chippy, and it's like a little bit of a surprise. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's very
Yes.
creative.
I like
Love
to use
it.
these elements for my surprise, or what I call my wow elements in the rooms. And one of my favorite types of salvage things to use are pieces from old churches. And they just add so much beauty and elegance to a room. And I love
you-
kind of that spiritual history. Already have both made some good points that you can use these salvage items for the ways they were originally intended to be used, like reclaimed hardwood floors you can use as flooring, or you could use something, for example, like I had a screen door that I ended up converting to a chalkboard. So you can use it in a new and unique way. But why would somebody want to use a salvage item? Because it is so much easier to use something new versus the salvage.
Well, I think a lot of beauty that was built into houses a long time ago, houses aren't built the same. You
True.
don't have big, tall. If most new, maybe stock type houses don't have huge baseboards and really elegant banisters and things like that. And you can go to a salvage store and find these wonderful things and use them as art or as extra pieces in your home. And they bring the beauty of an elegance of something of a bygone day that's maybe a little more custom made looking or hand done.
Yeah, it adds so much charm, and I one of my favorite words, and Yvonne used it already, but the juxtaposition. Sometimes that's
That is
so
your
cool.
favorite word.
It is really one of my favorite words. I'm not going to tell you my least favorite words. Ew, but
Oh, please don't.
no, I'm not going to. But if you have a newer home too, it's almost more striking to add in something salvage than if you
yeah.
have an older home. I mean, my entire home could be considered architectural salvage. I was thinking about it like, wow, what is salvage? Well, that is, and that is, and well, that part is too.
It could be, but it's
Tell-
still part
how
of your
old is
beautiful
your house?
home.
When was it built?
My house was built in 1886.
Okay. Yeah, it's old.
It's old. And also the gentleman who lived here, he was a great lover of not only this home, but old homes and old things. So he, as I think I've mentioned before, was quite an epic hoarder. And so I was
I think
able
you
to...
mentioned Sanford and Son. Was
Yes, yes,
I remember
along
that.
those lines. But in the rubble of a lot of what he had were some salvage treasures. People would be paying a lot of money for these things at the Rose Bowl or Round Top, and I was able to, just sort of uncover them here in the barn. One of the things that he had is this iron fence that he brought back apparently on the top of his van from Ohio, and he found it. It was salvaged then. It's probably from the early 1800s, and it's this very ornate but very rusty old fence, and he was going to circle the whole front of the house with it. He actually even had the holes in the bricks where you would just sort of put in the pieces. But I thought it was way too Addams Family, to have that all around the house, So what I did was
you can go overboard with it.
You can
It
go overboard.
sounded really pretty until you added
Yeah, that
Adam's
kinda
Family.
ruined
Then
it
it
for
just
me.
the picture
Yeah.
totally changed in
Totally
my
changed, right?
mind.
You get that picture and you're like that looming house. So what
we
I
had
did
an
was
iron. Oh, go ahead. You tell.
yeah, it's iron. So I wanted to pay, sort of a little homage to the gentleman who lived here. Plus, it's just the gate is so, and the gate portions and the fence is so beautiful. So what I decided to do was just use sections. So, and the front of
great idea.
the front of the lawn is like two long rectangles with not a whole lot of wide amount of grass, but just two long rectangles. So at the end, I had my handyman pour a very thin run of cement, and we put in two sections. So on either side of the walkway up to my house are two sections of this old fence, and now I've got roses in front of it and some clematis growing
So you
on
use
it.
them
Okay,
as
put that in the
trellises
show
and not
notes,
really actually
please.
part of the fence.
I'm sorry, Nita.
So you use them as trellises for the roses versus kind of fencing? Are they attached?
Yeah,
to the
it's
fencing?
really just decorative. It's not a fence. I mean, you
Okay.
could walk right around it, and there's no gate. But I used them, and they're so pretty, and I left them just rusty as they are. A few of my neighbors were like, "Oh, that looks really nice. So what color are you going to paint it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I think it looks great."
You have
But
the same neighbors I do.
yeah. But then I actually had this couple. I came home from grocery shopping one morning, like Saturday morning, and there was a couple in front of my house. Well, they loved the house. They were reading the historic sign that's on the palm tree, and they were really commenting and excited about the fence. So we had this long conversation as my ice cream was melting in the car about the fence. But so some people are, definitely getting it. I think all of our listeners would get it. I think it looks pretty great. So that's one of the things that I've been able to incorporate here. That was a salvage item.
Oh, well, and we took
Sounds beautiful.
an iron. Speaking of an iron fence, I found an iron fence post. I mean, it was kind of rusting, and it was out in a landscape. It was a store where they have. It's kind of a local
right.
store that has a lot of plants and beautiful things for your garden. And so I grabbed it, and I, much to my builder's chagrin, I said, here's our new newel post.
Oh, I know. I've done that too. And they're like, "What? It's not new."
Actually, he was great, but it wasn't tall enough, and the guy was saying, "No, I can't tie into that. That's too old," and he was worried about it. But they made a little boot for it at the bottom, and I just painted it all to match, and it worked great. But that's why you have to have a really good builder.
Yes. Once I realized the fellow that's been helping me here, when he didn't look at me sideways when I came up with these ideas, I knew, we could work together. But
Yeah.
what you mentioned underlines a point that Yvonne made, is that oftentimes it is more difficult to use a salvage item because you have to finagle what's there, and it's not exactly the right height or the right size, or and you have to really think out of the box a little bit, not only about using it but how to use it.
And I love that you girls are putting salvaged items into your new builds, like as you're building.
Right.
Our home is 21 years old, so I use it more decoratively.
Yeah,
and if
I
I'm
think
going
that
to
works
use something
too.
like an iron fence or whatever, it goes out in my garden. They're beautiful out there. But
Right.
I think the salvage item I'm most crazy about is shutters.
Yes.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have, well, there's just tons of old houses where I live in the East Coast, and I have about three different places I go, shops, antique shops, salvage yards that have shutters upon shutters upon shutters, and they're very inexpensive, but they are
Well,
so beautiful to use. As I have one in a guest bedroom that my husband and made a headboard out of three or four big shutters, and I use them to hang on the wall as art. It just really warms up anything that you have. And I have shutters hanging on either
your
side of a
fireplace, right?
beautiful gilded mirror, and it takes that gilding of that mirror and, like you said, that juxtaposition
No, I love
of
that.
chippy white shutter, and
Yeah.
it just makes that gilded mirror seem like warmer and a little more casual.
I love the shutters look, and you can find those at antique stores or definitely markets like the Rose Bowl Flea Market and Round Top. I found some out in Southampton, which oh gosh, out there they used to have the most fabulous antique shows almost every weekend. And we had an opening from our kitchen, kind of like a pass through into the dining room, into then like sort of the great room,
Yes.
living room, and that house. And so I put a shutter on either side of that, on the
So
dining room side,
pretty.
and it was such a great. I loved it. That was a really good use of those.
I have a little walk of shame to my shed.
Okay.
Because
no.
I bought 9 large shutters to use for headboards. Kind of,
Yes.
I really have headboards on those twin beds in my girls' room at the farm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so I bought them to put behind the bed because I thought it would add something. And
I remember that, Anita.
well, for some reason, I don't like the look. And so I had to haul all of those to the shed. So if someone has some ideas for how I might use those 9 rather large shutters.
Oh my gosh,
I-
on your porch. Don't you want to
Ooh, maybe you can block the wind. With
that's
them.
exactly
that's
what I was going to
wondering.
say.
I was wondering how I could do that because I do need to. Yeah, we have created a wind tunnel, so we'll have to.
We'll
let me
talk
work on
after
that.
the show. I have
When we
some
come
ideas
over, we're
about
going to do that.
Yeah.
We'll bring our
I'll bring your
toolkit.
Yes. Let me
I'll
just
bring
tell
your
you though,
handyman. That's what I need.
I have a little tip. If you get louvered shutters, you
Yeah.
can retrofit them. We've done that twice. We have a pair of black shutters on either side of my mantle in my on my fireplace in my family room, and again the ones in my dining room on either side of our gilded mirror, and they were both very long. And I have a tutorial on how to take them apart, cut them to the custom length, and put them back together.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're not limited by, I mean, if they're too short, they're too short. But if they're too long, you can retrofit them, and they're not that hard.
Nice. Oh, awesome. Well, y'all are giving me all kinds of
Show
ideas.
notes.
Yep,
Yes,
show notes.
show notes. And if anyone has ideas for my shutters, leave me a comment.
I'm thinking.
Send me an
I'm
email.
telling you, you've got to make a screen for that wind tunnel of yours with those.
Okay,
I
no,
think
that's
that would
true
be awesome.
because we were going to do something else that's fallen apart. So
Here's another fun thing that I'm going to be doing this summer is I have an old, well, it's not that old, but my house is 20 years old. When we moved in, it was brass. I have a 3-tiered, and I held on to it, brass chandelier. And I'm going to paint that. I'm not sure what color yet, but I'm going to spray paint it, and I'm going to put a pulley system on a tree that overhangs our patio,
gorgeous.
and put it over our our outside eating table, our dining room table outside. And so we get a lot of wind, so I definitely want to be able to take it down and take
Yeah,
it
great
up.
idea.
Like even just making it the rope long enough that I could stick it under the table where, the wind won't whip it around too much. But just even something like that, if you have an old chandelier, or you can get them for a song.
Right.
If you have a porch, like hanging it, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use candles in it because we get wind like you do, Anita. But I'm thinking about putting solar
Solar
lights.
lights?
Yes.
Well, they did that
Brilliant.
in the episode I worked on for Texas Flip and Move. You might want to check that one out.
I will
Called
definitely do
Duplex
that.
Doozy, because yeah, we took a chandelier and added the what do you call those? The solar lights on them.
Oh, that's such a good idea. I
So,
love
yeah,
that idea.
And
definitely. Doable.
even you could use those old chandeliers, like you could plug them in and swag it up like over your bed or something in a really cool color, or and use electrical lights, and it would just change the look of your whole room.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you can find those brass because people think, oh, it's brass, and I don't want maybe I don't want the brass anymore, or it's
Yes.
just not my look anymore. But yeah, get a can of spray paint, and it's a
Yeah.
whole different ball
I
game.
actually have a chandelier hanging on a bird cage holder stand.
Oh, how smart is that? An old-fashioned like stand one?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
that's-
there's no bird cage on it. It's the
Yeah,
stand.
yeah.
And I
Gotcha.
bought it like that because I live in a really cool place where they do fun things like that.
And if you don't want a whole lot of salvage, if you just want a little taste of it, a little surprise here or there, brackets for shelves are really easy to come by, and they're
Or corbels.
really inexpensive, and you can leave them in their chippy fineness, or you could even paint them, but if they have a nice shape to them, even if you put some new paint on them, they're still going to have a lot of interest. And you can have metal ones, there are wooden ones, and it can just, even above a bathroom sink or something like that, just a thin little shelf with two really interesting brackets can just add that little bit of
yeah.
charm that a room might need.
And I can't pass up a corbel.
Yes,
Corbel
I
has
know.
been on the tip of my tongue the entire time.
I put it under I tuck it under my arm, and out it goes with me.
Yeah.
I love corbels. I mean, I don't use them as corbels. I usually use them as bookends, or just a
great
piece of really
idea.
cool art, or some things like that. But they're so beautiful. And if you are lucky enough to find two, buy both.
Buy
Well, I
both,
have
right?
about
Don't
eight-
regret. Don't have
about
Corbel
eight that I
regret.
bought at Round Top that I'm going to use for some open shelving, but I haven't gotten to the project yet.
Oh,
So.
how pretty!
But those
They're
are smaller ones.
beautiful. They're
Yeah, and you can put them
yes.
in doorways, obviously, and put them in the corners, and that really changes the look, especially if you have maybe your dining room looking into your living room or a foyer, and then you have those flanking the opening. I think that's a fantastic way to use some architectural salvage in an interesting way.
Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfasts, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months.
And my daughter lives in Washington, D.C., so they have big salvage stores actually everywhere.
Yeah.
And we went to this one, and I mean, if you want anything from an old house that you wanted, you could find there.
Wow.
And they had these small pieces, maybe 4 inches tall, and maybe about that wide of, I don't know what they're called. They're those little rosettes that used to go in the corners of windows and doors.
they're called
Do you know
rosettes,
what I'm talking
yeah.
about? And then also some real high baseboards and real just chunks of it. And I probably bought about a dozen of them. And I have this one wall in my living room, and I just, my living room's sort of neutral, and I thought, I don't know what to do with it. It just definitely needs something. So what I did is I took a 10 by 10 piece of stretched canvas that I just got at a big craft store, covered it with burlap, and then used a staple gun and stapled the pieces of molding and those rosettes to the center of that stretched burlap covered canvas.
Oh,
And
nice.
it became
Wow.
art.
Oh,
love
great
it.
idea.
And then I put it in 3 frames. That the frames were bigger than the canvas, but I'll put that in the show notes. And
Yeah.
it's such an interesting. I did 3 of them, so it's such interesting art.
Yes, yeah, that sounds wonderful. And I took we went to a salvage yard when we were building the house, and we found some old barnwood that I used for a valance for the shower curtain. Mm-hmm. And also I found this fabulous beadboard in different colors. Mainly it's blue and green. They weren't even all the same color, but it was all in a stack. And my builder and I, that's what we would go do, is hang out at the salvage yard. He knew when I was coming, we were headed over there. So I said, let's put this in the ceiling of my porch. So we did that, and it looks great. I mean, but when you're using salvage, I do have to say, you can't be a perfectionist if you're going to use it. Our beadboard has lots of nail holes where somebody nailed in, some sort of something to cover it up, because at some point it was out of vogue and they didn't want their beadboard anymore.
Right.
Anita,
So-
that's the beauty of it, though.
Right, but I just want to make sure, because I know sometimes, because I do sell antiques, I get sometimes somebody says, well, I don't like that because it has this flaw or that flaw, and so
It's too old.
I don't want this antique, it's too
That's
old.
sort of the purpose.
So if you're kind of a perfectionist about things, this is probably not the thing for you. But if you're kind of open to patina and wear and tear and kind of some age spots, then I think then you'll love it.
Yeah, and the beauty of these things for me is not, yes, to the visual eye, but also to think about, whether it be a door or a corbel that people would have walked under, like, who were all these people, who
Yes, that's
who
what I
put
think.
the
Who had
beadboard
that?
up
Who
the first
touched
time,
that?
and then who
Yes.
decided to cover it up, what were their lives all about, and I have these little, I'm sure I make them very romantic and wonderful in my mind. I mean, I hope everybody's lives were as wonderful as I think that they are, but I like being surrounded by all of that, and I have a
Me
great
too.
respect for the things that came before, and I think the two of you feel the same way.
The pieces
yes.
have a longer history than we do.
Yes, I mean, I always
is
feel
so
like that about my
beautiful.
house. Like, I'm a steward of my house now. But everybody is that. Whether your house is a day old or was built in 1886, there's going to be a period of time where you're going to decide to move on to something else, and somebody else is going to be in your house. And with all the old things that we love and we've collected, we're just the next set of hands that are loving it.
That is exactly right. And this is so cute, this little story. One of the very first sort of salvage things I brought home were these 2 huge, heavy shutters. They had to have been on a huge window, and I was going to put. They are sitting actually right now, or they are nailed to the wall in my breakfast nook. And this was my husband's first experience. So I said, "Oh, Bobby, I could you help me hang these?" And he went out to the car, and he came back in with this like appalled face. He said, "Yvonne, they're filthy." And I'm going like,
Oh yeah, that's
"Yes,
a good. Yeah.
So of course, he's going to do that because I asked, and I showed him more about
So are
how
you
high I
cleaning them or
wanted them.
no? No cleaning?
Well, this is it. I'm upstairs doing something. He has his job to do. He knows where to put him up. I hear the vacuum cleaner,
Ooh.
and I'm thinking, oh, this is not good. So I run downstairs, and he's
sucking the
vacuuming
chips
everything off the phone, like patina and all.
Oh,
so I said, no, 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 no. I said, we'll just gently dust them off, and that's
Did you get
it.
your feather duster out?
I did. I actually did. We took it outside.
Well,
But I
that's that
said, no,
funny,
no,
you
no,
know,
you
Amy
have to
Howard
leave
has
it
that
because
stuff that looks
for
like the
those,
dust.
crud was part of the patina.
Yes. Yeah, one person's crud is another person's patina.
Hey, I'm going to use that with house cleaning. It's patina.
God.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry. The sink has
But
patina.
now he's
intentional.
gotten so good at, when he's retrofitting something like the shutters, he's going like, oh, that little piece chipped off. Now he knows that,
Oh,
that
how
that's part of
funny.
the allure.
Oh.
It is.
Well, he's such good help. I'm amazed.
It's
at
hard
him.
to get good help, Anita.
It is. Yes, it is.
He actually loves doing this, and I forget what he said the other day. He used a decorating term, and like I'm in my study and I heard him say it, and I like came out and went, "Who are you?"
He's been listening to decorating tips and tricks.
I think so. But it's so cute because he really loves this kind of thing.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
this is something in our later marriage that we just never knew about each other, how much he loved decorating and he loved
Your later
old
marriage, but
things.
this is your original marriage also.
Oh,
Right?
yes, of course.
Later on in your original marriage.
Just
Well, we've
clarifying.
been married, almost 34 years, so, we've been together a long time.
But
Yay
I
for
wanted
you.
to add just a note on some of the things that we're talking about. I know we were talking about the difference between using some of these salvage things as when you're building your house, and some things, if your house is already built, you may be limited on how you can incorporate salvage things into your home. So obviously, probably too late to do the flooring. But I did want to mention you can add beams later on because a lot of these are completely cosmetic. And although I have one main supportive beam, the rest of the little beams in my house are cosmetic and were added really was one of the last steps that the carpenter did. So
Oh,
it
and
is something
using
that you
salvage
can add.
material would be beautiful.
Pardon?
I said using salvage material would be beautiful.
Yeah, so that
yeah.
is something that you can do after the fact. Even if your house is 15 years old, you can still add those decorative beams if you want.
Well, here's something that happened in my house before I moved in, but it was definitely an add-on. And there have been a lot of add-ons, I'm sure, and some I'm aware of, some not, over the course of all these years. But the gentleman who lived here before, as I mentioned, he was very interested and respectful of old homes, and we are very close to the Rose Bowl Parade route. So if anybody ever watches that on television, I'm literally a quarter of a
Are we
block.
all invited to your house?
Goodness,
now?
I know where I'll be next New Year's Day.
Well, I know, Yvonne, ever since I met her and told her where we were moving. Well, I met her before that, but then when I told her where we were moving, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what on my bucket list." So we do have to do that, ladies. But literally, we can roll out of bed and walk down the corner with a cup
With
of
our
coffee,
coffee
and there
or
it is.
tea, yeah.
Right. So I mention it only because that's a pretty wide avenue. It's Orange Grove, and along there were all these mansions in the way back years. Now there's still some there which are stunning, and some really need our help. The decorating tips and tricks team could definitely to help out. And then there's the Wrigley Mansion, which is the Rose Bowl house now, and where all the preparations for the parade go on. But there was on the corner in this late 1970s, they were knocking down one of these mansions on a Saturday morning to put up, I have to say, ladies, one of the ugliest condo complexes I've ever seen.
Sad.
So there was no historical protection of these homes?
Not back then.
Not then.
People weren't doing it. But the gentleman who lived here, and he told me the story, he knew, there were signs up that this was coming down, and he was just this kind of guy. He went over on the Saturday morning before the demo team came, and he took apart a fountain out there, or it had been partially, maybe they started to take it apart, wasn't finished, and he pulled off all these Batchelder tiles. Now, I'm not saying bachelor tiles. Have you guys heard of his these Batchelder tiles? Are more like from the arts and crafts era.
Oh, wow.
So it was later than the the beginning of my home here. It was a little like maybe more the early 1900s. But a guy named Ernest Batchelder, he was an artist but also a really great marketer, and he created these beautiful tiles, definitely in the arts and crafts look. And they were becoming wildly popular, and these people, whoever had that beautiful home, had an outdoor fountain with these tiles. So the gentleman removed the tiles, he made a drawing on graph paper, which I still have, and he placed them and put them around the mantle, the fireplace, the inners of the fireplace in my house. They're so pretty. So here it is, something like literally was like coming down like in an hour. It would have been gone. And he
you
saved
live
them.
with so much history around you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and these tiles are really interesting. I'll put a link to them in the show notes, or about this gentleman. And when you've probably seen them. It's like one of those things you're like, oh yeah, I've seen those. But Batchelder gets kind of muddled with bachelor, and people get confused what they really are, and it's not a show about dating. Tiles.
I remember hearing, because my neighbor in North Carolina used to work for the Grove Park Inn, and at one point they decided, we're going to refinish things. This wasn't recently. And so they sold all those arts and crafts chairs for like $15 a piece. Let's get these things out of here. Yeah.
No.
Well, I think they're sorry they did it now.
I bet.
I'm sure. Well, where would you find Salvage?
It's
Where do you
everywhere.
find it?
It's everywhere.
I think it's not, it does seem like it's everywhere to us, but I know from talking to readers, it's not everywhere. So it is
I
hard
guess
to-
what I mean is, you drive down the street and somebody might have a chair out for the trash man.
Now that's Salvage right there.
I should have a bumper sticker that says, I stop for people's junk, right?
There you go.
Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. We're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add Dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT.
Stop for Salvage, because I have actually gotten a number of chairs and things from the side of the road.
Yeah.
Well,
You have to be in the right neighborhood for that. Well,
We
and
don't
I like
have
to go
a
to
Round
to Round
Top.
Top for obviously
Yeah.
a lot of, because I can go there because I can. That's where I get my salvage, and I get some rather large salvage items there. And also, I live in a historic neighborhood, so as they tear down maybe some houses that just aren't going to make it, they do go in and save all that they can, which I really appreciate.
Now they do that. Now that's
Right,
big.
right.
But
And-
see, I don't have the Rose Bowl area that you have for salvage, and I don't have Round Top. But what we do have is we do have a lot of vintage and antique shops, and more they're carrying salvage items. You just have to look online and see what's in your area, I think.
Well, what I was going to say is check eBay. They do have a lot, and
Oh.
a lot of things can be
Yes.
shipped for probably more reasonably than you think. The super large things, that's not going to be the case, but maybe for a large corbel, they might be able to get it to you more reasonably than you think. So definitely check eBay.
Yeah, and Etsy as well. I know I was looking for, when I was trying to decide on a farmhouse sink, that's not something you really want to ship. But who knows?
That's true.
Right, you could stumble on a shop that's within driving distance from you, and you might be able to, go pick it up yourself. But there's a lot of salvage on Etsy as well.
And one
there's
other
just- Go
place
ahead.
I wanted to mention is the auction house. I do go to an auction house quite a bit here in Houston, and you can get things there. I've gotten doors and things there, antique doors from France and other places.
And even if it's a little bit of a trek, like to go down to DC, it's about 2.5 hours for us. It is so worth taking some girlfriends in a couple vans and
Yes,
heading
bring a
down
van.
there and having a field trip, because it just opens your eyes up to so many possibilities, and it will help you be creative when you look at like a whole aisle full of doors, that I can think of so many things to do with them. The other thing I just wanted to say, if you have little ones, you'll want to seal
Yes.
any of your salvage.
Yes, good point.
Seal your salvage. That's a good
So,
idea.
to
What do
protect
you
it from the
use
lead
to do
paint.
that?
Yeah,
'Cause of the
from
lead
the
paint.
lead paint.
Right.
Just I use a spray fixative sealer.
Oh, okay. Maybe we could put a link in the show notes to that.
Okay.
Well, I could talk about salvage for another week or so, but I know everybody who's listening probably has to get on with their day. So we wanted to just remind you that we are here to help you create a beautiful home. Until next time. Hey there. If you're loving our podcast like we're loving our podcast, we would love you to rate and review us. Head to iTunes to do that. It's easy, and it would mean so much to us. And if you do rate and review us, we're going to enter you to win a fantastic giveaway. The details for the giveaway are in the show notes for this episode, and you can find the show notes at decoratingtipsandtricks.com.